air by calling 904-549-2937. You can also email First Coast Connect at WJCT.org. Reach out on social media, and it's all ahead this hour after the day's news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Late last night, a federal judge in Oregon issued a second order blocking President Trump from deploying any National Guard troops to Oregon. It's the second ruling this weekend on the issue from the same judge, and it comes after Trump ordered troops from Oregon and California to deploy to Oregon. He's also ordered National Guard troops from Texas to go to Illinois. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker is calling these deployments, quote, Trump's invasion. From member station WBEZ in Chicago, Araceli Gomez-Aldana reports Pritzker has resisted other demands by Trump.
The governor also refused to activate Illinois National Guard troops, even after the White House gave him what he called an ultimatum, saying, call up your troops or we will. And on Sunday, after learning about Trump's move to send Texas National Guard to Chicago, Pritzker called it, quote, madness, and asked Texas Governor Greg Abbott to refuse. In the meantime, the U.S. Border Patrol agents have been patrolling downtown Chicago wearing tactical gear and carrying long guns and making arrests.
Araceli Gomez-Aldana reporting. Ballots for California's special election are being mailed out today. Voters will weigh in on a ballot measure that would let state officials redraw California's congressional map ahead of elections this year. NPR's Ashley Lopez has more.
Proposition 50 in California is a response to Texas lawmakers who redrew the state's congressional map recently to create 5 more favorable seats for Republicans. Texas lawmakers took on this effort at the request of President Trump, who wants Republicans to keep control of Congress next year. California Democrats, led by Governor Gavin Newsom, vowed to counter Texas's redistricting effort by creating 5 more favorable congressional seats for Democrats in the state. But unlike Texas, California has an independent redistricting commission, so lawmakers have to ask voters for permission first to bypass the independent commission that voters in California approved in 2008 and 2010. Ashley Lopez, NPR News.
The new parent company of CBS has hired Free Press founder Barry Weiss as the editor-in-chief of its news division. Skydance Media is also set to acquire her center-right news site known for its sharp criticism of the news media as liberal. NPR's David Folkenflik reports.
In recent months, the former and new ownership of CBS have announced a series of moves. The cancellation of Stephen Colbert's late-night show, which often satirized President Trump, paying Trump $16 million to settle his lawsuit over a 60 Minutes interview of then Vice President Kamala Harris last year, naming a conservative former think tank chief to be an ombudsman. Now, Barry Weiss arrives as a top executive. She is to work in partnership with CBS News President Tom Sabrowski. She has no experience in broadcast and is unlikely to direct logistics, but Weiss is to have the remit to reshape journalistic sensibilities at the network of Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite. David Folkenflik, NPR News.
This is NPR.
This is WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. I'm Michelle Corum. The Jacksonville Jaguars unveiled the first public component of its Stadium of the Future renovation on Friday, opening Grand Staircase 1 in the southwest corner, just in time for tonight's Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. That kicks off at 8:15 tonight. It is the first of 4 large staircases that will occupy the stadium's corners, and each will eventually be flanked by escalators to get fans between the plaza and the main concourse. Stadium officials say that gates 1 and 4 are now both considered super gates with direct access to the fan entertainment zone in the flex field. And by the way, the Main Street Bridge is open today both ways after having some repairs made. The Affordable Care Act is at the center of the political fight that's shut down the federal government. For Floridians who see themselves as political moderates, the partisan bickering raises questions of how they can respond. Stephanie Murphy is the Democrat representative of the Center ALSI coalition. She spoke on Florida Roundup on Friday.
Those personal stories helps to pierce the political brinksmanship veil, so to speak, so that people in Washington can see that their actions have a real life effect.
60% chance of rain showers, possibly thunderstorms today. Mostly cloudy near 82 this afternoon and down around the low 70s tonight. We'll have gusty winds from the east today.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Cy Sims Foundation. Since 1985, supporting advances in science, education, and the arts towards a fairer, more just, and civil society. More information is available at cysimsfoundation.org.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning. I'm Hethel Putt in for Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, as manatee deaths spike in Northeast Florida, a local nonprofit brings scientists, conservationists, and the maritime industry together to try and save these gentle giants while still keeping the shipping economy afloat. Later in the program, the Stadium of the Future unveils its grand staircase as the Big Cats prepare to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. We preview the team's Monday night primetime game this season. And first, we want to get to this segment about manatee deaths, and we've seen that they've recorded the highest numbers in Northeast Florida this past year alone, more than we've seen in years past. So how can we protect manatees from harm? We have two people joining us this morning who are spearheading these efforts. John November, Executive Director and General Counsel for the Public Trust for Conservation. Welcome back to the show, John.
Thank you.
And Jerry Pinto, Research Scientist with Jacksonville University's Marine Science Research Institute. Dr. Pinto, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So, John, let me start with you. Manatees have long been a cherished and protected species here in Florida. But in recent years, they've seen high mortality rates, 34 deaths reported here in Northeast Florida in this year alone, and 557 deaths statewide. Explain exactly what's going on with the manatee population in Florida right now.
Well, a lot of people don't know that we only have about 10,000 manatees in this state altogether.
Wow.
And we've had an opportunity to come together as a community and protect our neighbor, the manatee. And by striking a balance between maritime commerce and conservation interests, we're really confident that we are going to be able to come together and bounce back from some of the tragedies that we've seen with lost manatee lives in the recent years. But there's optimism for the future, certainly, that the manatee are going to continue to rebound, especially if we can provide them the helping hand they deserve.
So we've seen that there's been 85 deaths that were from watercrafts alone. Explain what's happening to the manatee population right now in Florida. Why are we seeing these type of numbers?
Well, there's a lot of boating in Florida, and the manatees, unfortunately, sometimes lose their seagrass habitat that's sometimes outside of the main channel. And when they venture into the main channel, sometimes there are conflicts with vessels, and so it is a combination of recreational vessels and commercial vessels. But thankfully, we haven't experienced something called a unusual mortality event this year, which was even greater mortality was happening in 2019, 2020. But we've bounced out of that now, and we're ready to really rebound as a community and as a state to continue to protect the manatee.
What is the Public Trust for Conservation, and what's its role in addressing the manatee deaths?
Well, we really want to be proactive about protecting our waters, our conservation lands, and our wildlife. And there's no more charismatic and special animal in our community than the Florida manatee. And the opportunity to be proactive and really try to take some positive steps, not just to reduce the number of vessel strikes, but also to create great habitat for the manatees moving forward. They're very dependent on seagrass health. And if we can take steps as a community to identify where in our changing world and our changing river we can have the most success in restoring habitat for the manatee, we really think that that could give them the step forward they need to keep on calling Jacksonville, Florida home for centuries to come. They're ancient marine mammals. They've been here for a long time. We want them to stay here for a long time and be happy and healthy.
Now, recently, your group secured $75,000, a challenge grant to begin process of developing more protections. Why is securing this funding important now rather than in previous years?
Well, thanks to the Dolores Bar Weaver Legacy Fund, we've been able to secure a $75,000 challenge grant, and now the rest of the community gets to step up to the plate and help us try to match that, to pay for our full budget to put together a white paper and educational materials. So when captains come into our port, a lot of them are international, and they don't have a lot of experience knowing where the manatees are and how we can protect them to the greatest extent possible. And it's been truly inspiring because the maritime commerce community has stepped up to the plate and figured out, hey, what can we do? What are the best practices we can do? How can we improve our communications? How can we identify where these manatees are and take steps forward to protect them to the greatest extent practical? So this funding will allow us to ensure that we're not leaving any stone unturned, ensuring what we can do to make incremental change to protect these manatees.
And Dr. Pinto, I want to ask you, you've been conducting research to help with this initiative. Can you tell us what they're doing and what they're seeing in terms of that research?
Well, initially we started, this is a process that started 30 years ago. The Manatee Protection Plan was put together. We did the research. This is Jacksonville University. Collected data where the manatees were, where their food supplies were, where they were getting killed, um, the nature of boating traffic, the compliance of boaters with speed zones, things like that. All this was put together and looked at for many years. And so we have this plan that's mostly directed towards recreational boating. We have 26 to 28,000 boats in our area. The side that's not addressed as much is the commercial side. It is addressed on a case by case basis, but we thought that we could do better, and we're always trying to improve the plan and protect manatees. And we think that by looking at some of these alternative technologies, things like drones and acoustics and listening for sound, we can improve the communication about where these animals are at particular times, and then we can relay that through organizations like the Harbor Safety Committee to the commercial world that operate these large vessels and hopefully protect manatees further.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that technology, the drone technology and sound technology? Exactly how is it being used and how is it helpful?
Well, with the sound technology, we don't, there's a lot of sound, natural sound in the estuary as it is, but we call that biological noise. On top of that, you have a lot of vessel noise and dredging and all kinds of marine activities that add a lot of noise to the soundscape. So what we'd like to do is determine what the soundscape of the estuary is. And so we have these hydrophone recorders that will record sound, and we'll record them at different depths, at different places, starting at Mayport and going all the way down to probably the Buckman Bridge, Mandarin sort of area, to get an idea of how much noise there's in the estuary and what's the nature of that noise. And if we can hear manatees and dolphins and other wildlife in the area, we can use that as a proxy to presence or absence of these animals in an area,
Can you
even though we may
explain?
not be able to see them.
Yeah. And can you explain why the manatees like these parts of the river and they're so often crowded by these commercial ships in those areas?
Well, manatees have been in Florida for millions of years, uh, and so they've always used the river. And as vegetarians, they like to eat the vegetation that grows in the river. Um, the river's been altered for the last 250 years. I mean, we've dredged it, we've changed its direction, we've done a lot of things to it. Yet the manatees still prevail and come through in their yearly migration up here towards their food resources. And so they've always done it because that's what they do, and they know where the food resources are, and they know where the springs are, and those kinds of things. Um, they've just had to contend with boating traffic as well as that now, um, and hopefully our speed zones will help to protect them for the most part.
But the boats don't keep them away. They still come back to those same areas.
Yes, the boats don't prevent them from coming up here. No.
Let me ask you the response from the shipping industry. Are they receptive to the data? Are they receptive to your suggestions? Are they working hand in hand with you?
For the most part, yes, and they've always been receptive. The port, in the 90s, we had a lot of manatee deaths that occurred from crushings, and the port responded by creating these cantilever docks and using these big Yokohama bumpers to create separation between the dock and the ships when they docked, and that problem sort of went away. More recently, we're trying to improve the plan so that we can address very rare events. And some of these rare events are like you might have a mating herd that's oblivious to everything else going on around them, but they end up being in the channel. And in the channel, when a large ship is traveling in the channel, it cannot stop on a dime. So being able to relay that information to ships ahead of time may be a way to help avoid manatee deaths that could occur that way.
John, I want to ask you, how is this initiative different from what the city of Jacksonville's efforts have been to protect manatees? Are you working hand in hand, or is there something different that you guys are doing?
The city's been a great partner so far on the project, absolutely. But their focus primarily in the past was recreational boating. And there has been a lot of positive momentum created to reduce the number of vessel strikes caused by recreational boats in the future. But unfortunately, the subject of commercial vessels was largely unstudied in past manatee protection plans. We want to change that. Now, I got to make clear this is not easy. This is a challenge that's difficult because the manatees are so hard to spot in our waters. We have darker waters here in Northeast Florida, and so there are opportunities to use new technologies. This is 2025, AI, opportunities to use satellite surveillance and other high tech audio and visual detection devices can truly make a difference. And so we're trying to understand where we are now using the beneficial technologies that are out there to truly make a difference. So it hasn't been covered with this level of detail or this level of care to determine what can be done to reduce these strikes. And I think even more excitingly is creating habitat in the future for these manatees. Science gets better and better over time. We have greater challenges over time. Our river's getting saltier. The dredging has changed the nature of the river. How can we adapt? How can we create a food source for these manatees as they're traveling back and forth between our port and the springs, to give them a stop on the St. Johns River Highway and have a great rest stop here and have some food that they can eat. And a lot of manatees stay here year round. So how can we ensure that they're healthy? That's the excitement of the project so far.
And you talked about technology. Expand a little bit on how AI could be used to assist you guys.
University of Florida researchers are actually using AI to take satellite imagery and be able to pick out where the manatees are. So right now we've been dependent on aerial surveillance. Dr. Pinto has spent decades going throughout the river to identify where the manatees are and where they're not. The capacity to actually use AI to automatically, in a split second, be able to digest a lot of information is a key possible improvement moving into the future. And something that also is kind of exciting is kind of trying to complement the aerial surveillance that Jerry does from airplanes with drones that will allow us to get a better idea, especially in targeted areas where the manatee activity is, where the seagrass habitat is, and how we can balance those two to create great places for them to live and also safe transport for our commercial maritime industry.
You've been quoted as saying protecting manatees protects the river itself. What do you mean when you say that?
They are such an integral part, our wildlife, of our community. If we can't step up and protect our wildlife, that's a reflection on us as a community. If we can have a healthy river, we can have a healthy community, we can have a healthy society. And I believe that the St. Johns River is our greatest asset as a community. And the manatee, along with the dolphins and the right whale and some of our other key species, are a reflection of who we are as a community and a society. And we can do better. We shouldn't put out the white flag just because things are changing. We're losing habitat at rapid speed. We can respond. I believe in Jacksonville. I believe in protecting the manatee.
Dr. Pinto, are there any specific examples of manatee vessel collisions in Northeast Florida that jump out at you that were particularly disturbing?
Well, I think any time a manatee is killed, people are concerned about that. We've had the thing that we really care the most about is, can we not hit them with boats and avoid the boat strikes? And so far in the last few years, we've actually had low numbers of vessel mortalities in Duval County. This year we've had one so far. Last year and the year before we had close to one or two, or low numbers. In the past, that number has been a lot higher at times, and we've had to do things to try to address why is that happening. And the nice thing about the Manatee Plan and the working with the maritime community is we can get together and we can evaluate what's going on. The law enforcement component is also very important in these plans in making them successful. And we went from, in the 90s, 2 officers on the water to now 8 on the water, and an additional police station, basically, near Ready Point. So that's helped a lot as well. I think the main thing is we're trying to get more data about the interaction between manatees and commercial vessels. In the past, we've always had a lot of information about recreational boating, but not so much on the commercial vessels. One of the benefits of the shipping channels is that these big vessels stay in the channel, and that in itself is good for manatee protection because the manatees don't tend to stay in the shipping channels, but occasionally they will get in the channel, and it's those instances that we want to try to catch and communicate that to whoever needs to know that information.
And one of those cases that stands out in May of 2023, four manatee carcasses were found not far from the port. And you kind of touched on this before. Investigators determined that they were part of a mating herd and were killed by a large watercraft's propeller. What are some of the changes that you've made since then to kind of prevent those type of mass deaths of manatees?
Well, those deaths tend to occur very infrequently. In fact, that type of incident is quite infrequent. But we found that we have a lot of foreign vessels that come into our port. Those vessel operators are not necessarily cognizant of our needs and our issues here with manatees.
Right.
And so we have produced, together with the port, a port placard in the past that identified that information to them and could be given to them. We want to expand on those initiatives now again, and make sure that the communication is very good and that there are protocols in place that have not really existed in the past that much.
John, let's talk a little bit about the Florida Department of Health. They issued a health advisory in June warning of excessive algae blooms in the St. Johns River. How much would it cost to clean up the St. Johns? And also, what kind of help are you getting on the state level?
Nutrient pollution is a massive, probably the greatest issue facing our state right now in terms of water quality. And thankfully, there are opportunities to reduce that through comprehensive planning, through adoption of basin management action plans. And right now, we are actually going through a process of trying to reduce the amount of nutrients and pollution entering the system. Thankfully, the state has stepped up and continued to develop these plans, but we need to do more. We need to catch all the different sources of pollution that are entering our system, because when there is algal blooms, they tend to outcompete the native vegetation, the native seagrasses, and the manatees can't eat the algae. They need those seagrasses to be robust in order to survive and move towards the future. So,
And this is a $1 billion type of fix. I mean, this is not cheap to try to address this issue.
no, I agree. It's just the impacts of biosolids pollution coming up from Central Florida and going up the river. That alone is going to cause $1 billion cleanup. But thankfully, there are incremental steps that can be made. The dream is to restore the St. Johns River to how it was when I talked to my folks, my grandparents' age. They talk about how you could look down and see seagrass. That's not impossible. We have an opportunity to be adaptive, plant the type of vegetation that could be resilient. Obviously, it's a big challenge. Hurricanes come, there's disruptions in the system. But boy, if we can make this happen, it would make a big difference for Jacksonville.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the $75,000 match funding to complete the project scope. So the goal is $150,000 in funding. What is the intention of this funding, and do you think it's possible to get the match that you need?
I do. I feel confident that this program today on First Coast Connect, being such a great voice, getting the word out to the community, can really help. And it's an incredible opportunity to fund the work of scientists like Dr. Pinto at the Marine Science Research Institute, and also hiring the other consultants and maritime commerce experts that can help us come together and strike that balance between conservation and commerce. We can do it. And frankly, we live in Jacksonville, Florida. If it doesn't fly and continue to support the maritime commerce industry, we're not going to be able to reach that goal from a conservation perspective. And it's been really cool to see the maritime commerce community who love manatees and they love boats. How do we strike that balance?
And what's the response that you're getting from the community when you talk about the issue of manatees? Because right now there are a lot of issues that take priority, and when you talk about environmental issues, sometimes it's hard to get people's attention. How do you do that?
Well, yeah, less than 1% of all the giving in the state of Florida is for environmental causes. But thankfully, there's some people who have had those unique, almost spiritual experiences where they felt the power of the Florida manatee. And when you've had that experience and known and looked at them in the eye and know that they need our help, that moment, I think, can inspire people to step up to the plate and protect the manatee. It's such an important thing to do. And if you're interested in supporting the cause, you can go to publictrustlaw.org to donate. We need the community to step up to the plate.
John, you're so passionate about this. You can hear it when you talk about it. What kind of keeps you up at night when you think about the manatee population here in Florida? I mean, you have young kids, you're thinking about their future. What keeps you up at night?
Just that it's not easy. Well, the quest we're embarking on is going to take really concerted effort, and it's going to be something we're likely going to be working on for the rest of my life. This is not something that we can just begin and then let go. Supporting the MSRI, who are been the community's leaders on manatee related issues, is something that I'm hoping to do for a long time, and collaborating the business community, the contractors out there who want to do restoration, with the scientists, with the maritime commerce community. That super team can make all the difference. So it's not going to be easy, but we can do it.
And Dr. Pinto, at the university level, are you seeing a lot of interest from students who are coming up and want to be part of this? Is this something that they are showing a lot of interest in as well?
I think young people in general are very worried about climate change and how it affects manatees and dolphins and all other kinds of wildlife. And our issues going forward, the pressures on our natural resources that are going to massively increase, they're concerned about that. They're worried about that. And so, yes, they're always interested in protecting manatees and wanting to know how to get involved. And thankfully, we have great teams with the state lab that's at the zoo. The work they do, their teams recovering, assisting, releasing, animals. We work with them. Our students work with them. There's always tremendous interest. Yes.
And what about you? Do you see a lot of potential with the changes you're making? Do you feel hopeful?
Well, if you asked me this back in the day when we were starting the manatee protection planning process, Dr. Quinton White was instrumental in getting that off the ground. We thought manatees would be extinct within our lifetimes, and the amount of regulation in terms of speed zones and effort that's been put in statewide to protect the manatees actually made a big difference. And I think it's really helped. And so that's a success story, I think, in itself. But as John said, this is something that you can't let get cold. You have to keep working at it because if you take your foot off the gas, things can revert.
And you need the entire community vested. So thank you again for the work you're doing, John November and Dr. Jerry Pinto. Thanks so much for being here. Up next, employing seniors to empower others. A local group addresses labor shortages by hiring seniors. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A local group empowers and employs senior citizens to provide care and support to other seniors in need. Here to tell us about the need for senior caregivers and how it works are Lori Whitman, CEO of Seniors Helping Seniors, Northeast Florida. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Tyler Whitman, President at Seniors Helping Seniors of Northeast Florida. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And Allie Smith, a senior caregiver. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Lori, let's start with you. You're a senior employment and senior care expert. How did you get involved in this work?
I got involved when I decided to retire, but I wasn't really through. I'm a nurse and decided that I really wanted to keep working, but I didn't know what that looked like, and I felt like it was a calling. We found out about the franchise, and Tyler was available. His wife, Christine, was available, and my husband, Paul, who is a financial man, was available. So we took a leap of faith and reached out to the franchise and loved the model of senior caregivers helping seniors. And 3.5 years later, here we are.
Tell me a little bit in your experience of what are the reasons that seniors want to get back into the workforce?
There are a lot of seniors that have only Social Security. A lot of them are looking to supplement their income. A lot of our seniors are tired of just sitting at home. They still feel like they have something to give and they want to be active. So we accommodate them to meet their hours that they're looking for. Maybe it's 10 hours a week to sit with someone, to make sure someone has their meal, to go and check on someone. Maybe it's 40 hours a week, which we can't always guarantee that, but we try to match them up with the right person and the right personality, and give them that sense of feeling like they're still participating in a part of the world.
Allie, tell us a little bit about what led you to become a senior caregiver.
The agency actually, my mom hired them to take care of my stepfather, and he was a VA client, and Seniors Helping Seniors really worked well with him. And I liked what they did. They came in, they helped with him, and I'm like, I can do this. I can visit, I can take somebody to the store, I can help them, make sure they eat, remind them to drink so they don't dehydrate. And I love what they stand for.
Walk me through your day. What's a typical day in your life?
Well, it depends on the client. It's different with each client. I arrive at the home at whatever the time is, my clients are like family. They're extended family now. And so we, I'll help with breakfast and get breakfast ready. We'll sit and we'll talk. We'll pull weeds in the garden. We will go and just, help with making appointments, take them to an appointment. We just do lots of different things. We just make it make it more like a friend than a family, and a family member than a caregiver. So they're comfortable. They're not uneasy with somebody being there.
And Tyler, let me ask you, what are some of the challenges seniors face in the workforce right now?
Well, I think from what I hear from our seniors is that they're just kind of looked over. If you are an older person, they're kind of looking for that younger person, which I think is for us it's great because our senior workforce is the best. We've got people that they always show up. They're doing it for whatever reason, the best reasons. To be compassionate, to be there, and everybody else, I guess, in the workforce they're kind of looked over. With us, it's we're extremely happy when we find that older person that can come in and work with us. So.
What are the types of jobs, and I'll open this up to the whole panel, are good for hiring seniors? What types of jobs are they looking at?
That's a great question.
It depends on the kinds of things that we have our seniors do are to be in the home with other seniors and possibly cleaning up some dishes after they've prepared breakfast, lunches, wiping down the countertops, doing a load of laundry, those sorts of things that they would normally do in a a normal day-to-day household activities, things that most people are accustomed to doing. Those are the things that they will do. And it could be weeding out in the backyard and helping someone plant some flowers and do those kinds of things. So those are things that a lot of our seniors do. With our company, we do provide not skilled nursing, but we provide people that need assistance with going to the bathroom or changing or showering. We provide people that help with that, and we have senior caregivers that are CNAs that help us with that. So they're happy to be in that environment because it's one on one as opposed to a facility where they have to do 12 to 15 baths in a shift, an 8 hour shift. So for people that are older and aging but still want to be in that role, it gives them the opportunity to do their work, but it's not as difficult for them.
I want to talk to you, Allie, a little bit about the loneliness epidemic that we have in this country. We hear that a lot for seniors. How do you think this helps tackle that? And what do you see firsthand when the seniors that you work with?
A lot of times when we first go in, seniors are a little apprehensive because, you have a caregiver coming in, but we try to make it, like I said, we try to more be more of their friend and their family member, and we let them know. And a lot of us, because we are older, we have that respect, and we're not going to come in and we're not there to boss somebody or around. We're there to have a conversation and to find out what we can do to help. Can I help you, Miss Jones, with your laundry? What would you like to do today? Would you like to go for a walk? Let's go get some exercise. And so it helps them feel more connected and just like they're not alone.
And tell us, Tyler, if the listeners want to get involved, whether it's that they want to apply for a caregiving position or hire a senior for themselves or their loved one, what do they need to do to get involved?
Well, they can just call us direct. Our number is 904-344-8826. Seniors Helping Seniors. We're off of Southside Boulevard, but we take incoming calls, all days of the week. I think this weekend we took quite a bit as well. So we're always open.
And walk us through the process. Once they contact you, how does it work?
When they contact us, obviously we do a screen. We also have a level 2 background screen that we do with all of our caregivers. We put them through that process, which typically is, takes about 2 to 3 days to get them approved. And then they come in, we do onboarding, which is, first and foremost, getting to know them a little bit better, getting to know what they're good at, what they really want to do. And then we do a little bit of training as well. And then we're pretty much on board. We have a few online courses that they do take before they get into the process of taking care of another individual, and then that's really it.
Over 21% of Florida's population is over the age of 65. And I think you probably see this a lot where people retire, they think they're ready to retire, and they get bored or they think I have a lot more to offer. And then they think, well, can I change my mind? What's the answer to that?
Can they change their mind? Can they
come back to work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like Tyler said and Allie said, our senior workforce is the most dynamic group of people that you'll find today. They have so much to offer, so much to give, and it's not over. And when I retired, after 2 weeks, I said, I can't do this. I have too much nursing knowledge. I have too much corporate America in my brain, and I don't want to stop. And I'm glad I didn't, because it's the people that we've met. We have over 95 caregivers now. And it's just so rewarding because we're impacting their lives. They're impacting other lives. And I would say, don't stop. Just don't. Give us a call, like Tyler said.
And how has it changed your life, Allie, to be involved in this personally? Just tell us what it's meant to you to have this.
It's been nice to get out and to meet people, to feel like I'm still contributing to, everyone, my home, my family, the people I care for. I mean, I almost feel like they give me more than I give them. So it's really
It's
great.
true.
It's wonderful.
What's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job, oh my gosh, I love to go out and see the people, especially our veterans. We have a lot of veterans that we take care of, and Tyler does all of the work with the VA to get these veterans approved. We've had 3 World War II veterans that we've taken care of. We're seeing, we have a lot of Vietnam vets. We have Korean War vets. We have Gulf War vets now that we're seeing. Um, to know that we're making a difference for them, that we're there so that their wife can still go to work, but yet we can be in there to prepare meals and to make sure that they're safe and that they have what they need. It's so rewarding to be with them and to know that you're making a difference for that family.
And I have to say, when you have the gift of taking care of people, that you have that compassion and empathy that you offer, it's a great gift that you're not giving that up and that you're sharing that with others.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Lori.
you.
Thank you, Allie, for joining us, and Tyler as well. It's wonderful to see what you're doing for seniors in our community. Up next, the Jaguars face off against the Kansas City Chiefs during Monday night prime time. How likely are they to come out on top? We break it down with our local sportscaster after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Jags take on the Kansas City Chiefs tonight at Everbank Stadium in their only Monday night appearance. Alessandra Pontbriand, sportscaster at WJXT News for Jax, is joining me live this morning. Thanks for being here, Alessandra.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an exciting day.
Exciting day. I've got my teal blue for the Jags, and we know that kickoff is expected at around 8:15 at Everbank Stadium. The Jags are 3-1, and they haven't beaten the Chiefs, who are 2-2 since 2009, and they've never beaten Mahomes. So, what can we expect, and how important is this Monday night slot?
Yeah, this is a huge Monday night game. I mean, this is prime time. Everyone will be watching the Jaguars and the Chiefs. And like you said, I mean, the Jaguars have a better record than the Chiefs. So that's turning the tables this season. I mean, you think of the Kansas City Chiefs as as the premier team, the team that everyone wants to be, their championship caliber team. And I remember I asked head coach Liam Cohen earlier this week on Thursday when we got to speak to him, is this the opportunity for your team to really put on a show and make a statement? And he said, yes. I mean, this is the chance to put 60 minutes of great football on tape that everyone can watch. And like, you mentioned in prime time, the Jaguars are 7-5 at home on Monday night. And this is the 18th time, third consecutive season that they've been playing on the primetime slot. So, yeah, it's a big, big, big game for the Jaguars tonight. If they beat the Chiefs and they beat Patrick Mahomes, they'll solidify themselves as, a team to watch around the league. If they don't, then it will be kind of, continuing to at this point, it would be 0-5 against Patrick Mahomes, which, if they lose this one, I don't think it's that terrible because the Chiefs are just such a good team. But if they win, this would be a huge, huge win for Liam Cohen.
And I understand that there are some whispers of whether or not Trayvon Walker will be playing in tonight's game with his injury. Do you have any inside scoop on that? And what would that mean for the Jags defense?
It would be huge for Trayvon Walker. So last week during the 49ers game, he was hurt. He had a wrist injury. On Monday, he did see a specialist and had a surgical procedure done. He didn't practice on Thursday or Friday. On Saturday, he did return to practice, and he had a big cast on his wrist and his hand, on his left wrist and hand. So he was obviously limited in practice. Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator, and head coach Liam Cohen both kind of reiterated that if he feels that he can play tonight, then he will be a go, but it will be a game time decision. So no one will really know until, 8:15 if he takes the field. He's huge for the Jaguars. He's one of the best defensive players on the team, one of the best players on the team in general, but one of the kind of forefront players up there on the line. He would be a huge loss, for the Jaguars if he can't play, but they do have some really good players behind him. Juwan Smoot being one who, has disrupted quarterbacks this year. He's a veteran player, one that you can rely on. But yeah, Trayvon Walker trending like he may play. Of course, we don't know officially just yet, but he did practice on Saturday, so that is a good sign.
Tell us a little bit about the new Stadium of the Future renderings. On Friday, we saw the grand staircase unveiled, and you've had a look at it. What are people saying about it?
Yeah, we did a social media video, and it kind of went viral. People are, I think the staircase, yes, it's just stairs. When you look at it that way, it's just stairs. Why are you excited about stairs? But it's not just about the stairs. It's really about 5% of the construction officially complete. They're still on track to finish the stadium August 2028. So this is the first really part of the stadium that we can see that's actually complete. The construction is complete, and that's really the exciting part. It is a nice staircase. I got to walk up it. And when you walk up it, you go to a much wider area for the main concourse. So, I think some people are excited for the staircase. Most people, I don't think, really care. But when you think of it as, okay, on a larger scale, we are now seeing the beginning parts of the construction, completed. That should get you excited. But yes, if you enter gate 1, you can see the staircase. You can walk up it to the main concourse and then get to your seats from there.
Well, I'm sure people will be running up those stairs to watch the game. Again, kickoff at 8:15. Alessandra, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing that. Up next, from far out to Fallout, an upcoming home tour features everything from mid-century architecture to a Cold War-era bomb shelter.
Terrell Hogan Law.
I'm Wayne Hogan. Highway, hospital, home, work. Where injuries happen can make a difference in the law and the outcome.
More at TerrellHoganLaw.com. The Florida Star newspaper, serving communities for over 70 years, is dedicated to being your source for delivering thoughtful, factual news. The Florida Star is available at over 200 outlets in Florida and Georgia, or at FloridaStar.com.
Get ready for a magical family movie night at WJCT Studios. On Tuesday, October 29th, we're screening the Halloween favorite, Hocus Pocus. Doors open at 6:30, films at 7. Join us for a night full of spells, laughs, and the unforgettable Sanderson sisters. We'll have popcorn and concessions to keep you fueled for the night. Tickets at WJCT.org/film. This Halloween classic is pure magic.
Jake Sullivan served as national security advisor in the Biden White House. He says President Trump weakens U.S. leadership by not keeping his word in foreign affairs. So I asked Sullivan, hasn't that been the case with a lot of U.S. presidents?
Okay, I'll say two things about this. One, I did not expect the red line in Syria to come up tonight, of all things, but totally fair enough.
I'm Meghna Chakrabarty. My conversation with Jake Sullivan is on the next On Point.
Today at 11, here on WJCT News 89.9.
Defense Secretary Hegseth and President Trump are setting out a new vision for the military. Their Tuesday meeting put into question women's fitness while railing against woke policies. At the same time, the president suggested using U.S. cities for military training grounds. What the overhaul of the armed forces means for troops and civilians. Next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. An Arlington home tour highlights the neighborhood's architectural treasures from mid-century modern designs to riverfront manors, and it even features a fallout shelter. Here to tell us more about the Arlington Mod and More home tour is Trisha Kaputska, chair of the Arlington Mod and More home tour, and Peter Mione, a featured Arlington homeowner. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Well, this tour will focus on more recent architecture from the 1950s through the 1980s, but also one from the 1800s, a new construction home designed and built by architect who also worked for Bob Broward, a famous Jacksonville architect who was a protege of Frank Lloyd Wright. So a lot of exciting things to see. What do you think is the best part about this traditional event that attracts so many people to Arlington every year?
Well, I mean, this year we have so many amazing homes that we're highlighting, but the best part for us, I think, as Arlington residents is it gives people from all parts of not just Jacksonville, but all parts of the state an opportunity to see our beautiful neighborhoods that they don't typically see when they're going down Arlington Expressway or Merrill Road. People just don't know what true Arlington is and its beauty and its tree canopy. And its waterways. And so this is really an opportunity for us to showcase that.
And as a lifelong Arlington resident, I can attest to that. I grew up in Arlington and then bought a house right next door to my parents in Arlington. So it is a hidden gem in Jacksonville. Tell me a little bit about what makes this home featured in this tour historically significant in terms of the one that we were talking about with the architectural history.
Well, so the 1800s home was actually moved from its original location to where it is today when the owner knew, Mr. Pickett, knew that the Matthews Bridge was probably going to destroy it. So he moved it. So we'll get to see that. And that home has gone through many, many iterations over, a couple of hundred years. And then, but, one of the homes that we're featuring is Peter and John's home in Alderman Park. And Peter can talk all about that, but it was built in 1957, and it was highlighted in the July 1957 issue of Better Homes and Gardens magazine.
And Peter, let's talk about your house. You've lived there since 2006 with your partner. Can you tell us a little bit more about what makes your house so unique?
Well, there's the aspect of the way that this house was built. There was an article in the Better Homes and Gardens that Trish mentioned. So someone actually clipped the coupon from the magazine, sent away for the plans, and then built the house based on the original. So that's a little bit different. And the house itself is very mid-century modern, big windows, floor to ceiling. It does give a very expansive view of the property, which is not that big, but still you feel like you're in the canopy because clerestory windows near the ceiling show all the wonderful trees around, and it gives you a feeling of being connected to nature.
What are your feelings about the growth in Arlington or lack of growth in Arlington over the last few years? It's an area that often some people think is a hidden gem and other people think that, it's overlooked. What are your feelings having lived there for a few years now?
Well, I definitely agree with the hidden gem and overlooked. There is so much more emphasis now on the right kind of growth. We're seeing things like College Park, a number of JU initiatives like what is it, Dolphin Point, I
Dolphin
think.
Point, the new medical school.
Yeah, so there is good stuff coming. Unfortunately, what we see is an active need to ensure the right kind of development happens because there's a wonderful building across from College Park that housed a bank, very architecturally significant, but someone wanted to tear that down and put in a car wash. Like we need more car washes. So there is at least a core bunch of people in Old Arlington Inc. that sponsors the house tour who are really trying to make sure that we have the right things in the right places at the right time.
And Trish, is this a rain or shine event?
It is a rain or shine event. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So you may, if it's raining too badly, we'll have little booties for you, and you may have to put them on your shoes or take off your shoes because we don't want to sully these beautiful homes. But yeah, it's rain or shine.
All right. And if you're interested again in the Arlington Mod and More home tour, it's Saturday, October 11th from 10 to 4, Sunday, October 12th from 12 to 4. Guests can check in half an hour before the tour begins at Norman Studios on Arlington Road. Advance tickets at oldarlington.org, and tickets are $25 plus a $3 fee. Children under 12 are free. So thank you again for joining us, Peter and Trish. And that's our program. Thank you for listening. If you have feedback or suggestions, you can send them either to First Coast Connect at WJCT.org, or you can hit up our social media pages. And you can join us tomorrow when Mayor Donna Deegan catches us up on the latest city business and takes your calls. I'm Hethel Butt, and you've been listening to First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com. Jack's Chamber, with 3,000 members in Northeast Florida, is dedicated to driving economic growth and